The body's first line of defense against bacteria is the skin. The skin acts as a mechanical barrier to keep antigen from invading the underlying tissue. Surprisingly, bacteria on the skin help aid in our defense. These bacteria release acids and other wastes that help inhibit the growth of pathogens. Oil and perspiration help defend by keeping the skin at a pH of 3 to 5, which is acidic enough to prevent many microorganisms from being able to survive on skin. Lysozyme is an enzyme that is secreted in perspiration. This enzyme is able to attack the walls of bacteria.
If an antigen cannot succeed in entering the body through the skin, it will look for another opening. The eyes, nose, and mouth are all easily accessible openings. Each of these structures, however, has their own defense mechanism. Tears. The lysosome enzyme that we saw in perspiration is also present in tears. The nose. The antigen is no quieter. The antigen continues to look for another entrance into that all-important source of nourishment. The nose is guarded by a certain of nostril hairs. This hair in combination of mucus coats and traps. The mouth. The antigen doesn't give up, but instead tries to enter through the mouth. But again, the antigen meets resistance in the form of saliva, like tears and perspiration. Saliva also contains the miracle enzyme lysozyme.
Sometimes saliva will not keep an antigen from entering the digestive tract, and the antigen will eventually end up in the stomach. Fortunately, most of the bacteria that are still alive when food is swallowed are killed by stomach acid and enzyme secretions from the stomach.
Sometimes the bacteria or virus is successful in making its way into a cell. These antigens would be able to hide out in the cells if not for an alarm system in the cell. When an antigen enters a cell, the cell recognizes the presence of an intruder and responds by producing the protein called interferon.
Some types of interferons are believed to fight viral infections in the following way. When the virus enters the cells of the body, it triggers the cell's interferon gene, which causes the production of interferons. Interferons are not able to destroy the virus or save the cell infected by the virus. They can, however, send a warning message to neighboring cells telling them to secrete antiviral proteins which will not allow the antigens to reproduce in the neighboring cells.
Non-specific mechanisms fail and the antigen makes its way into any tissues of the body, it will be challenged to microphase. You might want to think that the microphage as a soldier who engages in hand-to-hand battle in the invader. In microphage is capable of amoeboid-like movement, and amoeboid-like movement helps the microphage locate the antigen within much of the tissue of the body. Once the adjutant is found and the microphage surrounds the adjutant and destroys the process known as phagocytosis, and the macrophage contains molecules filled with digestive enzymes called lysosomes. When the macrophage engulfs and the adjutant pinches it off into the membrane, the lysosomes adhere and membrane the release the digestive enzymes onto the adjutant, thereby destroying the adjutant. Two leukocytes are involved in the phagocytosis. Macrophages develop with white blood cells carried by monocyte. Another leukocyte called neutrophil also helps the destruction of the adjutant by carrying out phagocytosis.
Inflammation, which means setting on fire, is an indication that all of the other non-specific defense mechanisms have not been successful. When inflammation occurs, you know that there's a serious battle being waged in the body, and that the body will call on several different characters or devices to defeat the enemy. In other words, the antigen. When an injury or infection occurs, small blood vessels in the area of the injury or infection begin to dilate. or widen. This dilation is similar to making the roads larger, so more materials may be brought into the fight or fire. The materials needed to fight the antigen are macrophages, who will act as the firefighters, antibodies, and food to feed the firefighters. When the blood vessels dilate, the blood is closer to the surface of the skin, making it look red and feel hot. No matter how fast the fire truck travels to a fire, it will not be able to put out the fire if the road is blocked by a gate. The same is true for the macrophages. They may be brought quickly to the inflamed area, but will not be able to reach the antigen because the blood vessel will not allow it to pass through its walls. So the blood vessels in the area of the antigen also becomes more permeable to allow the passage of the firefighters, which are the macrophages. As more blood and tissue fluids begin to build up in the area where the fire is being fought, swelling or edema occurs. If all of the previous non-specific defense mechanisms fail to destroy the invader, the body responds by producing a fever, that is, raising its temperature. Antigens or pathogens give off toxins which will trigger the body to produce a fever. A slight or moderate fever helps in the defense by stimulating phagocytosis by the macrophages and by slowing down or inhibiting the growth of many kinds of microorganisms. A very high fever, however, is dangerous because of the denaturing of many of the body's important enzymes. This denaturing can diminish or even destroy some of the original properties and specific biological activities of those enzymes.